Are you ready to take? Good morning or late afternoon. Welcome to the Leaders Lounge. I am Dawn Morris, and if you are watching this on Tuesday, you're watching it live, either on LinkedIn or YouTube, or Facebook. So, welcome to the Leaders Lounge. This is your place where the World Class Training Institute ensures that we provide you with some tidbits to help strengthen you in your leadership journey. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please make sure to do that. Hopefully, I'm pointing in the right direction. At the World Class Training Institute on YouTube so that you are notified every time we go live and we share new content for you all. This month, we are talking about Your Name Inc. and how to brand yourselves to lead. Today, we have an amazing guest who's going to join us in a moment to talk to us about how you can be coached to become the leader that you desire to be, whether you're going from an individual contributor to a leader of people, or whether you're a current leader who's looking to move up in an organization. Our guest is perfect for helping you to be coached into becoming the brand that you want to be. So, Jeff Sesol is the president and CEO of Pull the Chute, a business and executive coaching company. He has over 30 years of experience, and I am excited to bring him on. So I'm going to introduce him now and remove that so we can see everything. Hey, Jeff, how are you?
I'm great, Don. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm excited to have you in the Leaders Lounge because you are an expert in coaching and helping people to be their best professional selves. And as I shared with you a little bit, we're talking and helping people this month with the Your Name Inc. or Their Name Inc. so that they are branded and seen as the person that they want to be as they grow in leadership in their organizations, or even if they go beyond, their organization and start their own businesses, what that looks like. So welcome. Jeff, before we get started, just tell us a little bit, give us a little background on what propelled you to to own Pull the Chute. Give us a little history on your consultancy and your, because I think the story behind Pull the Chute is so exciting. He shared it with me a few times. So help the audience with that, and then we'll go into our little discussion for today.
Sure, thanks. It's fun. I always tell people, look, there's several birthdays that are important. One of those was when I turned 40, and I looked at my bucket list and I said, I want to go skydiving. And so I did. And so you go up into a plane, you're 14,000 feet up, you do a tandem jump, you jump out, you're falling at 120 miles an hour. It's really hard to breathe. One little movement, you're spinning out of control. Everything's happening so fast, you can't see where you're at and you can't see where you're going.
Right.
The great news is that at 5,500 feet, you pull the chute and all of a sudden you can breathe again. You're in control. You can see where you're at and you can see where you're going. And isn't that a lot like business today? Right. Wow. So a lot of people are moving so fast that they need to pull the chute. They need to kind of take a breath, feel in control, see where they're at and see where they're going. For years, I've been helping companies and businesses just kind of grow. And I thought, I've done it as a consultant. And I thought, from a coaching standpoint, I can actually, consulting is like one-on-one, one-on-two maybe. But from a coaching standpoint, I can help 10 or 20 companies. And so when I turned 60, I looked in the mirror and said, okay, what have I done in my life that has really made an impact? And I thought, my passion is helping companies grow to the next level and be the best they can be. And I really thought about my story with Pull the Chute. And I thought, what a great name to get people to just take a moment to pull the chute. And so I launched Pull the Chute as a coaching business where I can help companies, whether they're, needing help from a business standpoint or from an executive standpoint or a leadership standpoint, any of those. We all go through difficult times and as business owners or as leaders in organizations where we're not quite sure what to do, how to go about it. I've had my fair share of entrepreneurial adventures over all those years. And some great ones and some not so great ones. So you learn a lot. So anyway, that's kind of the story behind Pull the Chute. I'm excited about it, and we're getting quite the following. So that's exciting too.
That's exciting. That's very exciting. So I love what you said about, you're up there at 5,500 feet and you could just decide to see where life is going to take you, or you could pull the chute, and by pulling the chute, clarity was increased.
Yep.
You were able to relax into it, and you were able to glide into your destiny, or in that case, to land safely. Correct?
Correct. That's a good analogy. I love it.
Yes. Well, I'm listening and learning from you. So now let's take that into how our listeners can pull the chute in their lives and brand themselves to be ready to lead. How can you coach someone to be the person that they want to be seen as they seek to lead themselves and lead others in an organization?
Sure. Well, the first thing I would tell them is it's a journey. So anything I tell you is not going to make instamatic changes where you've changed your 180 degrees and everything's. It's a journey, because we've all grown up with influencers in our life that have molded us to this point, right? And so some of those things need to be tweaked a little bit. I always tell people, look, I like to make what I call the 2% change. People don't like change too much, right? So if I can make small little 2% incremental changes, eventually those compound on each other, and all of a sudden major changes have happened.
Right.
And so that's one of the first things that I would talk to them about. The second thing I would talk to them about is, are they ready to move to that next level, right? As a leader, is that truly what they want? Let's kind of, remove the mask of, hey, I really want to do, but no, let's dive in and say, is this really what you want? Do you realize what that's going to mean when it comes, a lot of people say, hey, look, I'll be a leader, but don't realize all the things that are involved in being a leader, right? A leader is not someone that pulls and drags someone forward. A leader is someone that naturally leads and looks behind him and sees people following.
Right.
That's a good leader. A leader is someone that supports who they work with. A leader is someone who is appreciative for what people do for them. A leader is someone that gives people that they're working with a voice. And these are all things that they need to learn when you're trying to be a good leader. Exactly. And so it takes a little bit of time to do a lot of that stuff. But the first probably thing I would say, if you're in a position at work and you want to move to the next position, and people hate this because it's scary, but a lot of times to get to that next position, you've got to find your replacements. You got to look behind you and say, who can I help?
Yes.
To understand what I do and move into my position. By the way, that's being a leader, right?
Yes.
So if you're trying to show someone, up in the executive level that you want to move up and that you're a leader, what you can show them is, look, you found someone to replace you in your position.
Right.
And you've led them into that role, right? You showed them how to do that. The reason it's scary is because people, whenever I tell people that, they go, well, what if they do my job better than me? I go, you can't go into it with that. You want to move up, right? And so you want them to replace you at your job. Right. You can never think that way. You've always got to be more positive. And trust me, the executives are going to see that you're making an effort to replace yourself so that you can move up. And they're going to see that as true leadership skills.
Yes. And you said a couple of really great things, and I'm going to start forward and then move backwards. So the last thing you said, which is, sometimes people have this fear that the person they train is going to do the job better than them. Well, like John Maxwell, when he talks about the 5 levels of leadership, the way you get to the pinnacle level is to develop people. And if you're not helping them to be as good or better than you, then it's going to be difficult, if not impossible, to even reach that level of leadership. So you have to, you're right. You want them to be
I want them to
better
be
than
better than me.
yes,
Yeah, that
exactly.
shows that I'm a good leader, that I taught them not only my job, but gave them the ability. And this is the key that a lot of executives don't do, is they don't let their people have a voice, right? So you're replacing yourself with someone and you allow them to ask questions and to maybe come up with ideas that you didn't think about that's going to
Yep,
make the job better, easier, whatever the situation is. But that's the key. Executives got to give their people a voice so that they can, because they're the ones doing the job, right?
that's right.
So give
Exactly.
them that voice to be able to say, hey, I really want to do it this way because it's going to A, save time, B, save money, C, develop a better product.
That's right. Absolutely. Yep, that's so true. And then the other thing I wanted to tap into that you talked about is when someone comes to you and they say, hey, Jeff, I want to be a leader, you being able to help them paint a picture of what the world of leadership looks like, especially if they're going from an individual contributor. Because what hit me was, number one, in a lot of cases, you're going from hourly to salary. Now, that sounds good. That sounds good, right?
Yeah.
But understand that salary means that whether the job takes 1 hour or 10 hours in that
Right.
day, you have to be there until that job is done. You are no longer a clock watcher, so to speak. And if you do go beyond 40 hours in a work week, you're now able to get time and a half and all of those other types of things. Yes, there are perks, but that is something to be prepared for.
Correct.
As well as, yes, you're no longer responsible for, hey, I just need to know how to put this cell phone case together. I need to be able to help other people to put the cell phone cases
Right.
together. I need to inspire them, motivate them. I need to be able to communicate in a way that moves the dial forward, establishes respect, and all of these types of things. So, yes, it is. And like I was sharing in a class just a couple of days ago, where someone said to me when I worked at Dick's Sporting Goods, they said in a training class, you know what, Dawn? Being a leader almost feels like being a psychologist. And I said, yeah,
It can
absolutely
be.
right. Because, well,
It can be, yes.
it can be because you have to, as they say, attack the mind so that the body will follow. So,
Correct.
yeah, if you're not really tapping into your team members' minds in a way that drives them to be better, then it's not going to really bode well for you. So in some cases, yes, it is like psychology.
Well, and I think giving them time, one of the other issues that a lot of leaders have is they're trying to do their job and they're like, I don't have time to help you do yours, right? What they don't realize that if they can just make that little extra time and show them whatever it is need to be done, that their people are now going to be more appreciative and they're going to go the extra mile and maybe they stay late even though they don't have to because they realize it's important to get it done because you gave them time.
That's right.
So there's all that kind of stuff too. Being a
Yeah.
leader, it's not easy. I'll
Right.
say that, but once you kind of get down some of the small things, again, 2% changes here and there, you're going to get compound results that come back to you, in huge amounts.
Right.
And that's the key. That's what you want to be able to do.
Yep, that's so true. So, talk to me a little bit about your coaching plan and how you structure it so that you're able to help people either moving into leadership or even developing themselves as a business executive or as a leader in a company.
Sure. So, the first thing we're going to do is spend a little time getting to know each other. I need to understand their personalities, where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are. So that helps me understand how to work with them. And then we start to put together a plan of things that we're going to work through. What I like to do is spend half the time that I'm with them kind of talking about certain topics and things that, we've laid out. And then the other half is to say, all right, talk to me about things that happened this week. Where were your struggles? Where were the difficulties? And kind of help. And then we kind of say, look, all right, so tell me how you approached it. And a lot of times what leaders will do is react when they're new and they're untrained. And what we don't want to ever do is just react. What we want to do is pull the chute, as I say, right? Take a moment, take a deep breath, feel in control, see where the situation is, and decide where you want that situation to go, right? Because it's the same as a plan, right? So kind of take those four little things, and then sometimes doing that will bring clearer thought, clearer ideas, And then you can go back and have a conversation about whatever it is that's going on. So, that's one of the things I really coach heavily is don't react quickly. If someone says something, bite your tongue, take a deep breath, think about it for a minute, and it might only take a minute or two. But if you're reacting out of anger or frustration or jealousy, those kind of things will cause you to make bad decisions. And a leader, the hard part about leadership is it takes a lot of time to build that structure up. You as a leader, people feel confident as you as a leader. But it's that age-old story. It takes one or two bad times to kind of pull it back down, right? So it's important that you kind of work with yourself and make sure that you understand what it is. And I always tell people, look, if you're in a situation where you can call me. Let's talk through the situation. Tell me what's going on. Tell me what you're thinking. And my goal is always to get them to come to an answer where they feel comfortable. Rarely do I tell them, hey, this is what you need to say. What I try to do is get them, and coaching is all about that. It's all about getting them to think for themselves in situations. Because I can always give them the answer. It might not be the right one. I give them an answer. But I want them to be them. Like when people used to drop me an email and say, hey, can you just read through this and see what you think? And I'd make some change. I said, I'd tweak it here. And this is consulting, by the way, not coaching. And I'd say, do me a favor, put it in your voice. Like what I gave you, put it in your voice. I'm just kind of identifying some areas where you might want to be a little softer, maybe a little, stronger here, things like that. I want it in their voice, and that's important.
Yes. And, you said so many good things. But one question was at the tip of my tongue, and I want to ask it. So a coach, like when you're coaching a basketball, football team or anything like that, right? You're helping to create the play, but then they have to run the play. And the challenge is if the team loses, the coach gets fired, right? Even though they're out there running the play. Yeah. So as a coach, how do you know when you win? And who's ultimately held responsible and accountable?
Yeah. So that's a two-part answer. So first of all, how do you know when you won? For me, it's those wins where they get promoted, or they come back to me and we talk about a situation that occurred, and they say, hey, I was thinking about what we talked about, and this is how I handled it, and the result worked out. Right. So those are wins, right? When they can come back to me and say, hey, this is what I did, and I felt really comfortable going after it this way. And then this is what the result was. For example, I'm coaching this one company, and there's a woman that is the operations manager right now, right? And she called me and she said, Jeff, she works in an office of men. And she said, Jeff, I got these guys that, John's doing Joe's work, and Joe's doing Jack's work, and Jack's doing Brian's work. And she goes, they keep trying to think they're helping each other, but they're causing all this chaos.
Right.
And she said, so I'm not sure what to do. And I said, what would make it better? And she said, if they just stay in their own lane. I go, there's your answer. You tell them what their lane is. You define their lane, and then tell them to stay in their lane. She did that, and she's like, it worked amazingly, right? But she called me because we needed to talk through that, right? And then I talked to her this morning, and she's like, man, they're doing great. Everyone's staying in their own lane, and it's good. And what that did was it gave her, as a leader, the ability to, and again, she's the office manager, but she's kind of coordinating all the efforts. And by doing that, they now see her as the leader. They're all like, I'm staying in my lane because I don't want to get in trouble from Amanda, right?
Right, okay.
But that's important stuff. So to me, that's a win, right? That's how you see it.
Yes.
When it doesn't work and the coach gets fired, there's situations that are going to happen. What I like to look at is, did we have more wins than I don't want to say losses, but missteps? Let's use that word instead. And how do we learn from the missteps? Again, really important, right? Again, this is a journey. So some people get it right away, and some people take longer to get it. And so when we have those missteps, that's when we kind of drill down and we talk through that a little more. And maybe I have to come up with a better plan, or better play in this case, for using your analogy, right? Because the play that I designed didn't quite get them there because maybe, again, they're not quite getting all the aspects of what it is to be a leader. So
Right.
sometimes you got to tweak those plays a little bit. Ultimately, in all my years, to be honest, I've never been fired as the coach. So, I'm hoping to keep that
Mhm.
streak going.
That's
um,
good.
yeah. But I think people at some point, when I say it's a journey, at some point they're like, hey, you know what? My last one was 4 years. And I looked at them and I said, you know what? To me, you're good. I mean, I feel bad taking money on a monthly basis from me now because, I'm still here. If you need me, call me.
Right.
But the reality
Right.
is, you've grown leaps and bounds. You're good.
Right.
So then I kind of just move on, and I
Okay.
look for the next
Right.
one to help. And I think that's the fair way to do it. I don't want to just keep taking money from people to take money from people. I want to take money to people that are willing to learn, want to learn, are excited to learn.
Right.
And then once they get to a certain level, they're like, man, I feel really good. I'm in control. I kind of call that the pilot level.
Yes. Right.
Pilots got total control of the plane, right? With
Mm-hmm.
a pull the chute analogy, if you will, a
Right.
parachute analogy. So they're at that level and they're good.
Yeah,
My
exactly.
only thing I like to do is when they're at that level, I like to actually have them come down to the beginning level and just talk to those people a little bit, right? Kind of give
Oh,
back, if you will, and
yes.
talk to them and say, hey, I was where you were, because that's another thing, right? As human beings, we all think we're the only one going through this.
Right.
But the
That's
moment you
true.
start talking to people, they're like, oh yeah, I did it. And they're like, you're going through that too? I thought I was
Yes.
the only one. We just
Right.
don't realize that there's a lot of people going through the same stuff. And we're
Yes.
afraid to talk about it, afraid to ask questions, you name it. But what the reality is, when you take someone that's gone through the process and can come back and assure the person down, and I like to call the beginning level the tandem level, because
Right.
I'm helping them, right?
Hmm.
Assure them at that tandem level that they are supported, that they're going to get through that, and when they get through that, it's going to change their lives because they're
Right.
going to move to the next level and the next level, and then finally to the pilot level. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's good stuff. Um, one more question.
sure.
You see somebody who's at the manager or director level and they want to go up to the next level, but you know that they're not ready and they haven't though requested a coach. They're just kind of, they may be having a conversation with you and they're like, yeah, I'm going up for this senior level manager position, and you're thinking to yourself, um you're not ready. You're
Yeah.
not branded for what that's going to look like, because you're going to need more strategic skills when you move up into that executive level. You're going to have to even be stronger in your human skills, but from a different perspective, because you're going to need to be a little more influential. And right now, your communication is more like task centered, but not necessarily influencing to drive an organization to do certain things.
Mhm.
So you see this, they're excited. Convince that person that, hey, come pull the chute and come be a part of my coaching program so that I can help you to be branded into the person that you really want to be as an executive level leader.
Sure. And to me, it's all about defining for them what that role looks like. What do they think the role looks like? And what's the reality of the role?
Okay.
Right. And when you can separate those two things, a lot of times they'll see that they need work. Right. And
Right.
what you're saying is, no, you shouldn't do it. No, you can't do it. What you're saying is, there are a few things that we need to change, because when you get into that role, you want to be able to do it the best that you can be and be the best you can
Yes.
be, right? And so for that to happen, we need to do A, B, C, and D. Let's work on that together. Let's get you to that level, because you want to be successful. The worst thing that could happen is that management says, yeah, we're going to put you in that role, and you fail at that role. Two things have happened. A, you've let yourself down and you feel terrible about what you've done, and
Right.
that's going to change who you are as a person. And B, you've let the company down. And so the
Yes.
executives now have looked at you in a bad light. They thought they were doing a really good thing, but
Right.
they look at you in a bad light now, and maybe they have to put you on a new seat on the bus. Maybe they just kind of go, "We're done with you. Go find
Yes.
something else," whatever that is, right?
Right.
But by identifying what the steps are that's going to prove to you to be successful in that role, and then working on those steps over the next whatever amount of time it is. It's hard to define that because it depends where you need the work. Um,
Sure.
and getting you to a place, and maybe you know, you're not at 100% when you take that role on. You're at, which is probably the better way. You're at about 70%.
Mhm.
Because if you were at 100%, you'd go in there and your first thing is, you know, you're going to be doing this. Hey, let's do here, let's do, and that's not what you want to do either, because, you know,
True.
again, people don't like change, right? So you go in with a 70% understanding of what the role's about,
Yes.
learn the role, get it figured out. Let's tweak some of the things, you know, we continue to coach through that. Let's tweak some of the things that we thought were going to happen that didn't happen, or new
Yes.
things that we didn't even know existed,
Yes.
and get it ready so that as you start to really grow into the role, you're successful and you're containing or grabbing the new things and making them even better.
Yes. 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 That's all good stuff. I think that what you said initially, how you don't necessarily tell them you're not ready, but you speak to them about, hey, what do you think this is going to look like? And then help them to align with what it may actually look like, and then start building a strategy, a coaching strategy, so that they're ready to go into the reality of the role
Yep.
and then handle some of the challenges when they position themselves in the new role, assuming they get the job.
So one of the things I like to do as the coach is demonstrate the leader.
Yes. Okay.
So, right. So that's why if I go into a situation like that, I never say, no, this isn't for you.
Right.
You
Mm-hmm.
always look at the situation and you say, okay, what do we need to make happen so that this works the best for you?
Yes. Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And because we want you to be successful. You know,
Yep.
it's like when you get into situations when you have confrontations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and someone needs to, you know, you get into a fight with your with your significant other, your spouse, whatever, and they just want to unload on you.
Right.
I've learned over the years, let them unload. Because if I try to answer questions or comments in between, they're not listening, right? So let them just kind of play that out. And then you can come back and talk, much like you and I are doing here, right? You're like, hey, you said this and I like that, and come back. But the point is, you know, that's all teaching them how to be good leaders, right?
So
And
good.
so you just got to kind of do that a piece at a time and let them learn. And so by me demonstrating how I would do it, and they probably don't even realize it, right? You know, they come at it and I'm just doing it that way.
Yes.
And then it's kind of, you know, they learn how to be a leader through osmosis sometimes, because they're like, oh, this is how we handled that. Oh, that was good. Okay. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they're getting it. And
That's
that's,
so
you know,
good.
that's the exciting part for me. When you go back to, you know, how do you know when you won as a coach? That's when I
Yeah.
won.
Good. I got excited because, and we're almost out of town, but I got to tap into this. So one thing is this verbal communication, but when you're talking about email and text communication, it's a whole nother animal. And I had my own situation. I probably need to come sit on your couch and talk to you because, oh my goodness, I emailed a client about their payment being on time, and the initial person didn't say any, gave me like a long story about why it may be late. So I reached out to that person's leader just to say, hey, this is where we are. Can you assist? And the shoot back to me was so combative. I haven't responded, and I just said, but to me, you're kind of confirming that I did the right thing, at least in that moment. Was like, I just like,
Yep.
because it's when we're writing and we're texting, we have to really be so cognizant that the other person is reading it from their mindset. And so even though we may be communicating it like, hey, just, trying to make
Yep.
sure that this is da 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 da, they may be seeing it as this is not happening, blah, 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 blah. And
Yep.
so,
Yeah,
yes.
totally.
So when you talked about just how to have the conversations when we're talking about email and texting and that kind of stuff, because this is that world, do you assist in that area as well? Because people have to learn how to communicate verbally and written, and in, as you said, sometimes not say anything.
Yeah, and absolutely do. So I have a firm rule that if you're emailing it, it's more informational or ask a question. Don't give me a long email. Don't give me a dissertation, because, like you said, people will interpret it four ways from Sunday.
Yes.
Same with texts, right? So my philosophy is, like in your case, I would just pick up the phone and go, "Hey, did we misunderstand something here? Where did this go? All I'm asking is, where's the payment going to be, or when's it going to be?
Right.
But pick up the phone and call them, because they can hear the inflections in your voice. Email,
Right.
because there have been so many times when I have stopped people from, well, they said this in the email and they're going to rip them a new one right in the email. I'm like, stop. Pick up the phone, get on a Zoom call or a team call, whatever it is that you use, and have a conversation, right?
Yes,
and because body language, voice inflections, smiles,
right,
all that makes a big difference.
Big difference.
So we've moved to this world where everyone thinks they can just communicate through email and text, and you can't effectively.
No,
you cannot. I don't care. No. We need face-to-face at times.
Yes, we do.
Especially when the pandemic hit. One of my things that I taught a lot of my people was, you get all your people on camera, because they were letting people either dial in or connect, but not on camera. I go, no, they have to be on camera. And they go, why? And I go, because you want to look and see people's faces.
That's right. Yep.
How stressed are they?
That's right.
And then if you see someone that you look, like we had one girl, hotel was, when she was stressed, she'd always go through her long hair like this, right? Okay. And I'd always know when she was stressed. Right. So after the call, I would literally ping her back and go, hey, do you have time for a call? She goes, sure. And I'd say, all right, what's going on? Right. She goes, what do you mean? And I go, you are stressed to the max. I can tell. Right. She goes, thanks for calling. And then it's like, but there's all these little issues, and you can understand better, right? Right. So same thing. It's just all about seeing people or hearing the voice inflections, and sincerity is probably the best way. The authenticity and sincerity. Yeah. So that would be my recommendation there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good stuff. Very good. So if people want to reach out to you and pull the chute and get coaching on how to be their best selves professionally, personally, how do they do that?
So you can visit the website, pullthechute.net. On there, you can actually schedule a 1-hour free consultation, so we can get together and talk. A lot of times coaching is all about the fit between the two people, right? Do the personalities work? So yes, that's what we do. So we get to meet each other first, then we talk about maybe where you think some of your issues are. I always laugh at that, because where you think some of your issues are usually is not where the issues are. That's so true. Once we get to know each other. Anyway, the other way is, if you want to just email me direct, Jeff, Jeff, at pullthechute.net.
Jeff at pullthechute.net or pullthechute.net on the internet to connect to you, so that they can have conversation and then determine what their coaching plan is or could be. Okay, sounds fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today. You were amazing as a guest. Gave us such great insight, and I know that your clients are definitely benefiting from having you as their coach.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I'm passionate about this stuff. You can tell.
I can tell. And you have to be. You need to be when you're coaching people. I absolutely think that's a necessity. So and you fit the bill. So thank you again so much. Have a great day. All right. I'm going to just take you out, and then I'll close out the show. So we'll chat later.
All right. Thank you so much. Talk to you.
Okay, bye. Everybody, Jeff was amazing. Please reach out to him if you are interested in anything related to coaching, because he can help coach you into the brand that you want to be. Again, make sure to connect to us on YouTube at our YouTube channel, World Class Training Institute, for anything related to things in the Leaders Lounge. And you can also reach out to us on our website at worldclasstraining.net. That's worldclasstraining.net. Thank you so much for joining us today. And as always, remember that when you are better, we are absolutely better. So we will see you the next time on the Leaders Lounge. Take care. Are you ready to take your career to the next level? Then meet